sides meet, there's always something special about it. It is the classic of Central America. And in this third place game, still plenty to play for. Both sides admit it, and both sides acknowledge the meaning back home. In the United States, it's Honduras and Costa Rica. With Devin Kerr, Mike Watts on hand. So glad you'll join us for the first of two games here in Denver. The United States will play Mexico to complete this very extended 2020 into 2021 Nations League campaign. The inaugural edition of this competition finishing in Denver at Mile High, 5,000 feet above sea level. The rushing rapids through downtown and the cavernous canyons nearby at the base of the Rocky Mountains. Denver playing the perfect host for this Final Four meeting between Honduras and Costa Rica, both of whom were unable to advance in semifinal fixtures against some of the biggest nations in Concacaf. Devin, as I turn to you for the first time, it's 84 degrees, it's picturesque in Denver, and the mile-high altitude is only matched by the mile-high expectations when you listen to the managers and the players from these sides in the lead-up to this third-place game. Just because there is not a trophy at the end doesn't mean the fans, the players, or the federations don't expect victory today.
One of the greatest things that I love about this federation, Mike, is the history within the game itself and the fact that there is a tremendous amount of pride involved in matches like this, and that you're going back to the Olympics, hundreds of years ago, all the way back to the Greek and Romans and, battling in this, that, and the other. But that culture, that thought process has carried on, and that's what it's about today, because you take a lot of pride every single time you get an opportunity to get a call-up to a squad, yet alone the fact that you can now step onto the pitch. And for some of these gentlemen today, based upon the lineups, a couple changes for Honduras, which we'll get to in a little bit, but an opportunity to showcase yourself and also recognize this. No, they're not playing in the final. You and I talked about this off here. Gold Cup is right around the corner. You want to make sure that when you depart the field today, you leave your manager with a real good idea of what you're capable of bringing to the field, because you don't want to just make camp. You want to represent your country at the Gold Cup in about a month's time.
Absolutely. Both these sides were group winners in the group stage phase in Nations League A, reaching to this Final Four. Devin, you think about Honduras, a 1-0 loss to the United States and a true gut punch at the end. Statistically, you wouldn't say Honduras were the better team on the day, but they battled tooth and nail and watched as Jordan Sabachu scores the game winner in the 89th. They were that close, Devin, that close to a final.
It was a good game, and the goal, it was a good goal. Give it to the United States 100%. They deserved the goal on that movement. The biggest takeaway from that match, when you watch Honduras, whether at the domestic or international level, you are talking about some of the better defensive squads that you will see. The teams are usually extremely organized, and when you funnel that through to Fabian Coito's squad, they always play a traditional style, but they are regimented in it, and they're very good at executing it. They lost sight of that in the opening 30 to 45 minutes, and so it took them a long time to build back into that. And that emotion, that physicality that it takes you to get there, Mike, is a very difficult thing. But as the game went on, they got better. They gave themselves a couple opportunities. And if you would have told me that they would have squeaked out of there with a 1-0, they were right there and could have been able to do it.
Honduran players making their way into the tunnel alongside their Costa Rican counterparts. Last CONCACAF title for Honduras, 1981. Runners-up twice, third place 3 times. Meanwhile, you see the Ticos in the tunnel right now, went all the way to penalties with Mexico. They were unable to get that heavy weight off their shoulders of now running 9 without a win. They have not won since before the COVID-19 pandemic first gripped the planet. You can't argue anything less than a victory here would truly salve those wounds.
The expectation is always extremely high for Costa Rica, and coming into the match versus Mexico, you would say, okay, can they slay the giant of sorts? Because Mexico is the best team in the Confederation. Let's get that out of the way. Whether or not they execute is another story. And so Costa Rica stepped up to the line. Same story. It took them a while to get going. Mexico wasn't at their best. Costa Rica had to get into it. Couple opportunities down the stretch, but nothing really where you would have said, this was a dominant team, they deserved more. And just like we saw in that Gold Cup match back in 2019, they went toe-to-toe with Mexico. It took them the exact same amount of penalties. Unfortunately, they couldn't finish things off. No changes for them today, though, which is an interesting one, meaning they feel like they have a real shot of not just pride, but showcasing themselves to the manager and to the world that they're still here to win this match.
The Gold Cup is now about a month away, and these two sides are prime contenders. They still have a chance to reach the podium in the inaugural Nations League. The anthems to play in Denver as Honduras meets Costa Rica in the Concacaf Nations League Finals third place game.
For the national anthem of Honduras. Damas y caballeros, les pedimos ponerse de pie para el himno nacional de Honduras. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the national anthem of Costa Rica. Damas y caballeros, les pedimos permanecer de pie para el himno nacional de Costa Rica.
There is a crowd forming. The championship game between the United States and Mexico to come. This third place game features Honduras and Costa Rica. Mike Watts, Devin Kerr, Fabian Coito sending out this starting 11 as Acosta and Rodriguez move in.
They are the two changes. Alex Lopez will take a seat, as well as Jonathan Rubio, and a team that did very well in terms of width on the defensive side of the ball. The problem was when they moved forward, Mike. Great job defensively. Those long balls over the top, the transitional movements, they struggled to find Lozano and Rivas. And so with the additions here, I would expect Edwin Rodriguez to be very active. He was fantastic at the tail end of the match against the United States. One of the better spots for sure.
The official from Grenada, Rayon Radix, Antigua and Barbuda, Suriname, St. Kitts and Nevis all represented in this third place game. Captains Figueroa and Ruiz exchange pleasantries as we approach kickoff in Denver. The VAR is Chris Penso of the United States, slated to head to Tokyo for the Olympic Games. The starting lineup for the Ticos of Costa Rica. 9 straight on the bounce without a victory for Ronald Gonzalez. They did not make any changes, seemingly a pretty clear statement.
It's a very attack-minded squad, Mike, and Keisha Fuller on the outside did a good job. I liked the switch on the tail end of this. As they started to move further in the match against Mexico, what we saw was Joel Campbell and Alonso Martinez switch. Martinez had started in the middle. Campbell then shifted in. Martinez went to the outside. A lot more fluid in their movements. They still need to find a way to get the 3 of them, Randall Leal involved, and also Brian Ruiz. He was very absent from the game. Even though it sits in a 4-2-3-1, that middle 3 is isolated. It's more like a 4-3-3. A lot of movements for him. They need him on the ball more.
Fabian Coito there led Uruguay to great success at the youth levels. On the other side, Ronald Gonzalez, the 50-year-old, took over in September of 2019, played for Saprissa where he won 5 Costa Rican titles and 3 Concacaf club titles as well. 60 years of Concacaf. Never have we crowned champions, runners-up, 3rd place, and 4th in Nations League. This inaugural competition reaches its apex tonight. Honduras and Costa Rica meeting in the 3rd place game of CONCACAF Nations League. Honduras gets the opening touch of this Clásico Centroamericano. Devin, sometimes you come into a game like this and the trophy's already been lost. You're thinking distant into the future. You're thinking about the summer and maybe some time off. Maybe you're thinking about the Gold Cup in a month. When Costa Rica plays Honduras, nothing else matters.
No, and it's all about competition. You know, the pride that I talked about will be very apparent early on. It'll be high energy. It's still going to be like a cup final type game where the nerves are going to have to settle itself down. Things a bit scattered opening 10, 15 minutes. And you want to assert your dominance on the opposition. The question mark is always going to be as to whether or not they can because of the way that they struggled in the opening moments of their first match.
Rivas early. Mareta takes over for Costa Rica. Ronald Gonzalez said that the goalkeeping position is the one he's worried least about. And Lionel Mareta filling in for the injured Keylor Navas has effectively filled the role. That said, Devin, you can't help but think about what this Costa Rican team would look like at full strength. It would be significantly different with 5 or 6 regular squad players in their pool available.
It is sort of the story that surrounds a lot of what's going on here, though, if, to be fair, for multiple squads. The United States can make the same argument in certain areas. Although the addition of Tyler Adams recently back into the squad might be the first time that you see that team complete of sorts.
Quote-unquote full strength.
Quote-unquote full strength, and I use that term very lightly because it's still a heavy work in progress. Mexico as well, though. You know, a couple injuries. Jonathan Dos Santos on the way out. Of course, the striker position, a topic.
Raul Jimenez still dealing with that skull fracture.
He's still coming back. You know, can they find a 9? A little bit of rotation there. A couple late additions as well, and you still got a job to do, right? It doesn't matter what all the noise is around you. You've been given the opportunity for a reason, so whether you were number 8 on the roster or 28 with an opportunity as an alternate to come in at the last minute, you got to show yourself.
Well done by Lozano to keep it, but Oviedo puts it over the line. Costa Rica last won the CONCACAF title in 1989. 3-time champion. Honduras won it in 1981, their only victory. And Fabian Coito saying that the performance against the United States was a great step and a great match for Honduras to go toe-to-toe in a semifinal. Rolled forward a bit lackadaisically, and Honduras enters the penalty area, reaching all the way to the end line. Referee had a long look at that, and Albert Elise coming off the edge, creative.
Beautiful footwork, and it was a really good job, to be fair, to get around Duarte. Just slipping on the tail end of it. A lot of frustration for Elise in that match. They're constantly trying to find a way to push him through, break things up, and when you get into situations where you're the only one up top, you feel like you're putting in the brunt of the work and no one's reciprocating. That's hard on a striker. It's one thing if you're having an off day, right? Then the frustration starts to surround the squad, where everybody's looking to you to stick balls in the back of the net. But when you're working your horse off and no one's reciprocating, they're not feeding you balls, that's troublesome.
Costa Rica into the penalty area. This will run all the way by Lopez and out the other side. Booted away by Alvarez. Oviedo. Celso Borges. Would love to see him on the ball more. That'd be a good statement about where Costa Rica is in midfield today as opposed to the performance against Mexico. That's an error in the back from Calvo, but he has recovered momentarily. And finally, Lozano a bit overzealous. Alonso Martinez sending that whistling service. Joel Campbell, a courtesy slide of sorts. Ruiz allows this through. Ongoing appeal that Rodriguez has run out of room. Oviedo, excellent. Oviedo seeking Leal. Borges. Can they get Alonso Martinez going off the right-hand side? Excellent return ball. Ricochets around. Martinez will pursue from Campbell. Inspired start from Costa Rica into the 7th minute.
And the movement just prior between Alonso Martinez on the outside, cutting in. Great individual effort. A combination on the backside with Joel Campbell. That's where they got much better as the game went on against Mexico. And it was that switch that took them about 35 minutes or so to make, Mike. But once they did flip-flop, Blot Martinez to the outside, gave them a multi-dimensional option moving forward, because they both have pace. This team has plenty of pace. That's not the issue. But Martinez, a bit better with the ball at his feet, as opposed to Campbell being able to play with the back to his goal. Good recognition by Gonzalez on the sideline. And as soon as that change happened, this offense started to click going forward. The issue they really struggled with was still with getting Brian Ruiz on the ball. You talked about Borges. I agree with you. He was doing a lot of chasing defensively, to be fair. But you get those two distributing a bit more regularly, and that's when this team is at their best.
Oviedo busy once more for Costa Rica. Oviedo crossing in front, bounces in. Campbell has scored for Costa Rica in this 3rd place game. A 1-0 lead for this very frustrated Tico side.
Frustration, possibly. But the magnificent start to this match has to give them not just a glimmer of hope, Mike. Has to open up tremendous opportunities moving forward and build your confidence like no other. Was just talking about the switch, back to goal. Campbell just better with his big frame. When he's in tight-knit situations, they wanted Martinez on the ball more, but it still comes from a lot of rotation from the outside backs. Fuller was brilliant in the first game against Mexico. They needed more out of Oviedo. And can you ask anything better? Because the ball is sublime. Doesn't actually get the first touch on it, but even on the deflection by Campbell, he does not care, cruising his way to an opening lead.
His 19th goal for Costa Rica comes in the 8th minute, and maybe the tides are changing for this extraordinary, proud nation in Concacaf. Devin, the idea of Costa Rica going close to 2 years, regardless of the scenario around them, without a victory, somewhat wild. Elise has taken this away. Elise from behind, chopped. This will get out. It will be a corner.
I'm sitting back with you, clapping at Elise and his ability to read this and get out in front, but the recovery by Duarte. Next level defending, Mike.
Short corner, return from Lozano. Cross swung in. This is the first time that Costa Rica has led a match since November of 2019 in Nations League against Haiti. Calvo scored, Duckins Nazon responded for Haiti, a draw. That was the beginning of what's been a 9-match winless streak. And inside 10 minutes, Costa Rica takes the early lead through Joel Campbell.
Got to be both sides of the ball, though, because watch this explosion of speed by Elise up top. Really well done, blows by, but then again, closing. Good pressure on the outside by Fuller and Duarte as this touch just gets away from him. Bit too long for Elise. Extends away from his body, hops up. It's one of the things for the kids at home. You do all the difficult things well, but the easy stuff, that little tiny touch at the end gets away from you, causes you not to be able to get a shot off.
Bounced away from Campbell. Ruiz and Borges closed that down. Those two have combined for over 250 caps for Costa Rica, patrolling midfield and reaching closer toward the dusk or sunset of their careers. Play will come back, a dangerous run by Randall Leal. Runs beyond Rivas. Rivas, the subject of some intense questions from journalists in Fabian Coito's match day -1 press conference. Questions about why a third division Italian player was in the lineup over another player. Fabian Coito made clear he's in the second division. Questioned whether the journalist was aware of where the players on the field actually do play their club ball.
Easy.
Got a bit contentious.
You're going to step up there, you better have your facts straight. You and I have run into that before. Learned our lesson a long time ago.
True enough. But a player who's still on the Inter Milan payroll.
And when you look at him within this system, I can understand the decision by the manager because of the principles that are within this team. You know, I talked about their structure coming in. forget what you've seen in the opening 13 minutes because there's been good play by Costa Rica, but the defensive principles that I referenced, you obviously still have to score goals. And it doesn't matter how good you are defending, what can you do in the final third? Now, Elise, both in the first match versus United States as well as today, very active, very busy up top. Can't say the same for Choco Lozano. So you need someone else to step up and help out there. And with Rivas, what you get out of him, these were the notes that I wrote down, and it's very telling about his movements. He's got intent, not afraid, competitive, 1v1, loves small spaces, great service, excellent on set pieces, pace. All of that gives you the ability to stretch the opposition. Honduras doesn't have a lot of that. Technical players that are on the ball, Elise for sure, he's got speed, wouldn't exactly put the ball at his feet and ask him to do a bunch with it. So Rivas gives you that opportunity. He can bridge the defensive mindset that you're looking for and set you up on the outside, but at the same point in time, help out your frontline attack.
A series of calamitous tackles result in a Honduran free kick. Brian Acosta stands behind the ball. Acosta playing just to the southeast of Denver in Dallas. Acosta, whoa! Went for glory.
It's not bad, is it? Great view. Catches it just a little bit on the way up. That's one when you're looking down, trying to pinpoint your spot on the ball. A little bit higher than the valve. It's become very popular. Really back when Adidas did the redesign of their ball for the 2010 World Cup in South Africa. It's kind of a cheat code, if you will, where they had found out that with that specific type of ball, you could actually just hit it right on the valve. Obviously, Ronaldo was kind of patented that move back in the day, but the design of the way that these balls are nowadays, that was really the year that everybody started to figure it out. And for Acosta, very good dead ball striker, just catches it a bit off the mark.
Alvarez. Campbell scored in the 8th minute. First lead for Costa Rica in any senior national team match since November of 2019. Marrera. Of note, this Nations League Final Four, so to speak, hardly the only result that matters from this initial Nations League. The qualifying set up the initial leagues, Devin, A, B, and C. It's worth noting that Grenada, El Salvador, Jamaica, and Suriname have been promoted into League A, and the relegated sides down to B. Cuba, Bermuda by way of goal difference against Panama, Trinidad and Tobago, and Haiti, notably Martinique and Curacao, both stayed up as second place finishers in League A.
Things aren't exactly going well for Trinidad. There was the draw yesterday against Bahamas that ended their hopes of continuing on in World Cup qualification.
Trinidad and Tobago finishing bottom of the hexagonal last time around, and yet playing perhaps the most surprising role of all in the final round of hexagonal World Cup qualifying ahead of the 2018 World Cup. Ousting the United States, opening the door to others to climb into the playoff position and into qualification out of Concacaf.
The Soca Warriors, good on them. Glory days a bit over, if you will.
For now. Rolled out to Oviedo, seeking Campbell. Oviedo rushes in. Be a Honduran throw. Honduras describing the pressure of this semifinal on Thursday and the third place game today as pressure is a privilege. Do very much feel pressure to succeed. Did against the United States, still do against Costa Rica.
Interesting to note, though, Mike, the difference between the two countries in terms of kind of where their stock is, right? With Honduras, the youngsters obviously doing very well at the Olympic qualifying. You and I got an opportunity to see them firsthand all the way to the final and penalties against Mexico. Costa Rica, that young group, very similar to what the senior squad doing. You know, they struggled with their performance, didn't really ever get into a full rhythm. I mean, even the 5-0 game against Dominican Republic on the final day, it's a good win for sure, but that's not the result you're looking for on match day 3. Very talented group. A couple of those boys here today on the pitch right now as well. Randall Leal, the man who just went down, one of them.
Calvo. Let's go back to Lionel Marrera. Duarte. Campbell in the 8th minute. Costa Rica with a 1-0 lead. Campbell, who spent some 7 years on Arsenal's payroll. A lengthy stint of loan spells. Playing now at Club Leon in Mexico, which has proven fairly fruitful for both sides, you would argue. Continued success in the Mexican First Division. And an important goal against a bitter rival. Leading ball back, and Leal will continue to pursue Lopez. You saw the trouble that Elise could provide off that direct ball from the goalkeeper. That was smothered early.
Brian Ruiz still having a little bit of an issue getting service into him. He's stuck right behind Acosta and Flores, and good on them defensively for their shape, but a little fun in behind. It's so difficult the way that Honduras, especially on their back line with Figueroa and Pereira, who are willing to step in to that negative space just in front of them. There are plenty of managers who don't want you to do that, Mike. They want you to keep that flat shape. They want your line in perfect synchronicity. But for these center backs, he gives them more luxury, especially when you can see the movement building up from the opposition. So as Costa Rica starts to move out of their own half, and Brian Ruiz is trying to find some space. If he steps in behind Acosta and Flores, there's no issue whatsoever for their captain Figueroa or for Pereira to step in there, and that can be a concern because that space then means it opens up behind. It's a good look for Campbell to step in behind. Randall Leal, of course. Martinez if he rotates back over. Something to think about for Costa Rica, but from a discipline standpoint, very good by Honduras to recognize it and even more so implement it.
Turned over to Rivas. Is collected. Deflects up. Elise getting underneath it. Skewed out by a combination of Calvo and Duarte in the back.
But they wish they would have picked up a couple more deflections like this the other night. Elise has really been a pest here, opening 23 minutes. More distribution out in front of him. The adjustment by Calvo and Duarte on the back line. They've dropped deeper. Even then, still finding the pressure from Elise up top.
Edwin Rodriguez. Excellent little back heel into the air to maintain possession for the Ticos. He's fired seeking Leal. Rivas. Rivas, the run from Lozano. Deflected by Oviedo. Corner, Honduras. To be fair to Honduras, they have now conceded just 3 times in Nations League between the group stage and the semifinal against the U.S. Costa Rica does grab a goal, which has been their Achilles heel. They have struggled to score at all, more often than not. But a goal can really change the dynamic here. Stymie the Costa Rican momentum. Also allow Honduras to change the way they play. Ball launched and away. Leal got it wide. Martinez.
Notice how much more they're willing to attack this left channel instead of the right. It's the exact opposite from the matchup against Mexico the other night. They were all about Keisher Fuller and trying to utilize the right side of the flank instead. Oviedo much more active here, and you know, some of that is balance, Mike, for sure, but also the understanding that they feel like they like the matchup better between Leal, Oviedo, and Kevin Alvarez. Rivas is one of the issues there. It's not his fault, but they're asking to play a very high line, so there's much more space to work with compared to Rodriguez, who's sitting much deeper at the left back spot. Diego.
Flores for Martinez. Overlapping run arriving, turns it down well beyond Ruiz. Is it surprising to see that significant an adjustment to the balance from Costa Rica's attack in this game?
I'm not surprised by it. There's 2 schools of thought for me personally, because it's a subjective question, and here's why. The first part is, do they actually feel like a better target if you had to pick one side or the other is Kevin Alvarez as compared to Diego Rodriguez? I will say this. I would probably normally lean towards Kevin Alvarez. He did not have a great match the other night. He was picked apart all night long. So the fact that Diego Rodriguez, who was very good in the game, you go watch the tape, forget historical nature, that makes you lean that way. The reason I say it's subjective is because, and the second part of the argument is, this Costa Rican squad, as talented as they are, they need balance. And not necessarily attacking just one flank at one point in time, because what that does, they don't transition fantastic. They do on the front line, and you can get 1 or 2 runners with you. But if Leal goes and Campbell goes, a lot of times what you'll see is Martinez will tuck in. There's no late runner coming on the far side. So the way that they attack, I would expect balance. So if you're going to overutilize one side, I would still expect them to use the other side, just not in the same attacking motion. You go right, you go left, because what that does to Honduras is that keeps you second guessing. Right now, if I'm Diego Rodriguez, I know my mark is right in front of me. I'm very well aware that Alonso Martinez is going to be standing right next to me, and the most amount of movement he's going to give me is checking 5 yards back into the midfield or to my left out to the sideline. That's it.
An ongoing narrative to see how Costa Rica will try and pick apart Honduras from here. Driven ahead. Campbell, good first touch. Lopez is way out. Lopez got a kick, and that flag was quite delayed, but does rise. And with the advent of VAR in Concacaf club and national competitions. We'll see that flag come up later and later. If he scores, I'm sure Chris Penso is in a room somewhere thinking, by golly, that's my music. This bounces all the way through and out.
I am here for a reason.
Driven forward here, and you saw how late the flag came. Figueroa continues his career in the state of Texas, where the Concacaf Nations League finals were initially intended to be played. Moved to Denver. Ruiz. To Duarte. That line of confrontation finally broken. Leal. A slide in there. Referee had a long look. Gestures to allow play to continue. Came through Flores. Crowd finally has something to truly roar for. Calvo went in. Caught Rivas.
The argument's got to be on the other end of the field, because watch the tackle here. It's marginal. Watch the left foot. Does he get the ball? Oh. By the hair of his chinny chin chin, he gets away with this one. I actually thought in real time that this was a foul, but he does touch it. Coming from that negative style movement, a lot of referees will blow the whistle on this one. Randall Leal was looking for it. Young man who still looking to really break through after joining Nashville SC in the MLS from Saprissa.
Meanwhile, on the other end, Calvo.
That was a foul.
Yeah. It's the kind of foul that has endeared him to the many fans of Minnesota and Chicago and Major League Soccer. Set piece here for Honduras in the 32nd minute. Corner, Honduras. Slashed across, appeal there for another corner, but it is a Costa Rican goal kick.
They had a couple opportunities against the United States the other night where a bit of trickery. I think the old magic book started to come out, have a little fun. Of course, that all changed in the 89th minute when Jordan Sabachu finished things off.
Got over a groaning Brian Ruiz, belongs to Honduras. And there's something to be said, Devin, for the fact that Concacaf is better when Honduras and Costa Rica are playing to potential. These are two countries that can really be at clear and present danger. Goodness, clear and present danger for Lopez. Went through awkwardly, but able to deflect it away, and Elise leading the other direction. Chance to get a shot away, bounces off the post, got by Moreta. Head by Flores, intercepted by Calvo. Rolled wide, a second ball enters the field of play. Campbell appeared to be trying to hold up play because of the second ball. Not that Honduras is going to listen to that argument. Campbell fouled from behind.
How good was the buildup by Honduras on this? I mean, poetry in motion is the way to describe it. Does this come off his arm? That's a really difficult angle. Watch right here. Watch the right arm. It's difficult to tell. And then they slice, dice, go the other direction. I talked about Edwin Rodriguez and Brian Acosta, what they would bring to it. Rodriguez giving you a real good idea as to why he was a first choice for the manager this evening. And down the stretch against the United States, really provided an excellent spark out on that left flank and tries to equalize close to the 35th minute.
Leal for Oviedo. Slices the cross, well beyond Borges. Leal recovers, Flores blasts in. And Ruiz is barking for a free kick, which he will receive. Flores, who starred in midfield for Olympia, the giant in Honduras.
It's in from behind here for Flores. I don't mind the idea of the tackle. Good idea to throw the weight around, but the minute the shoulder starts to turn for Randall Leal, the attacker knows where the pressure is coming from. Just starts to pivot. Holding midfielder can't get stuck in, and this is one of those areas, Mike, where for Luis Lopez, how many do you really want in the wall from this distance, given the proximity to the Honduran netminder? Gonna have some quality pace from here.
Did see Brian Acosta from a similar neck of the woods on the other end strike with power, but this will be feathered over the line. Didn't quite get that far either. Campbell in the 8th minute in this third place game in CONCACAF Nations League inaugural finals in Denver, Colorado. Costa Rica went to penalties in the semifinal against Mexico. Alan Cruz saved by Memo Ochoa. Mexico advancing to take on the United States, who through Jordan Sabachu managed an 89th minute winner against Honduras. High drama in this first edition of the competition. Elise will take over after Oviedo spirited away. Elise leads back, shot ripped by Flores. Hammers off the Costa Rican defender. Calvo checks in on Moreta, who gave it a courtesy dive.
Good on Francisco Calvo as well, because this is headed right towards the near post, and I'm not saying that this is going to beat the goalkeeper. It's got a little bit of English on the ball. It's in traffic. Not an easy save by any means, but Calvo helps him out.
Acosta, header away for Costa Rica. Still more through Rodriguez. Forward for Alvarez. Devin, I've come away quite pleasantly surprised by the level of play. Sometimes a third place game doesn't really carry all that much energy. The energy's been there from the opening whistle.
If you told me this was a consolation match, I wouldn't know the way that they're playing. I would expect a bit more pace, to be fair, but a lot of that is tactical and the way that things are playing out. There's a lot of shifting from either of these squads, and Here's a pretty good look at it right now with the quick transition coming the other way. You know, I talked about the balance. They've already gotten the right side involved a bit more, and I'm not just talking about right in this situation. Keisha Fuller has moved much higher on that right-hand side. I asked for the balance. We're starting to receive it. You would like some of that to be reciprocated from Honduras, to be fair, because all the praise that I've sung about Rigoberto Rivas, he's pretty much just chasing back and forth because of the way that they're moving between Calvo and Oviedo.
Elise looks over both shoulders and begins to attack. He lost his footing. That's the second time his cleats have lost contact with the turf. Alvarez. Flores. Swung out the other side by Acosta. Rolled toward the penalty area. Chance to swing the cross. That's high. Looking for Lozano. Nearly hit Rivas. Out the other way. The flag remained down. And Campbell peers up and attacks. Ruiz. Ruiz waits, leads Martinez, and Lopez comes out. Well, the pace has arrived now, hasn't it?
Yeah, finally. Apparently they took offense to the commentary. Approaching halftime. Going to send a message here. Either one of these squads to either be the leader in the clubhouse if you're Costa Rica, pad that lead a little bit, and for the Hondurans, get back into the match, at least on the score sheet. This is what you're usually expecting to see out of a Fabian Coito squad, a squad that, although defensively they're still being picked apart a little bit here and there, it's gotten a little bit better, right? And it's definitely better than the first match against the United States, where they struggled so heavily. But still, situations like this where you expect the pressure when you're in a 2v1, that ball doesn't get slipped through to an open opportunity for Costa Rica. So good on Luis Lopez for stepping off his line. But those are the little things that I'm talking about, where defensively, that tiny tweak, you'd expect it to be a little bit higher.
Oviedo. Covered well by Diego Rodriguez. Duarte leading that all the way. The offside flag had gone up. What have you made of Rigoberto Rivas over these two games? Certainly got a lot of commentary in the press.
It's a very good question. So the selection process I talked to you about as to why I thought that decision was being made. This is a really good look at what I'm talking about here, where walks the fine line for sure, but that little hesitation, the ball should have been better, number one. That's got to be a ball out into space that he can attack direct on. Young, big name behind himself, overseas. There's a pretty heavy expectation for him there, and what sort of ceiling can he fulfill? Wearing those types of shoes, Mike, is a very difficult burden for a player to bear. Then you put him on the international spotlight. It's not like he's playing in a friendly.
It's only his 9th cap. You can argue that there are few games he's played in of bigger magnitude to Hondurans.
Yeah, spot on. You know, and the ones that he has haven't really meant that much until now, right? And so, and I'm not taking anything away from those matches, but it's just different, right? And so, with that comes a mentality at the competitive level that when you don't have that experience and you haven't had to chase defensively a lot, because overseas, he's the aggressor. You know, the style and the system that he's in, he's on the front line, he's running at people a lot. That hasn't been the case in either one of these matches. As a young player, when you're not regularly being fed balls, the distribution's not there, you're defending a lot, you're gonna have to start to understand that your ability to be efficient just has to be better. Because with Inter, regardless of who you're on loan with, you're getting 8, 10 opportunities in terms of movements going forward. Now, what you do with them are a different story, as opposed to matches like this against the United States or against Costa Rica, where you're defending so often. Maybe you get one or two. What can you do with those one or two? And that's where he's really struggling right now, because a couple of the movements, one just prior, regardless of the ball, he still could have brought it down. He could have been onside, and that could have has followed him over the 130 minutes that we played so far. The key question going into the second half, if he gets an opportunity, what does he do with it? Because again, you can be quiet all game. You step up and convert your one shot, you've done your job.
90 seconds and stoppage time remain in the first half of this third place game. Costa Rica taking the lead in the 8th minute through Campbell. Alvarez extending down the line. Alvarez delivers. Elise got a touch, and now out as far as Rodriguez. Recycle wide. Diego Rodriguez just trying to get anything he can on that. You can see the wind really whipping at Empower Stadium. No roof here. Completely outdoors. It's not like some other venues in the United States with retractable roofs that we've seen used in Gold Cup before. Temperatures in the mid to upper 80s Fahrenheit at kickoff. Leal, well, there's an appeal for a deflection. Into first half stoppage time.
Well, this is an interesting decision that Randall Leal doesn't get to go his way. This hits him. Simple enough, right there. Absolutely. Good little movement coming inside from Randall Leal. Of course, Luis Lopez had it covered. They'd love for Costa Rica to be able to get Leal on the ball in those situations going forward a bit more. That's where he was so successful at Saprissa, and he's started to find a little bit of form at Nashville. That man right there a little bit more quiet in Honduras. Battled back in. You know, this is going to be a game in the second half, Mike.
Costa Rica 1, Honduras 0 at halftime. Joel Campbell scores in the 8th minute of play. It's his 19th international goal. 28-year-old who plays for Club Leon in Mexico. A nomadic career, which has often seen him score at an important clip for the Costa Rican national team. Devin, if you're Honduras, yes, you do trail, but we saw a lot to like as that half wore on. I think Fabian Coito is not going to be throwing the book out in the locker room.
Not whatsoever. Not overly concerned either. You'd like a little bit more movement out of Choco Lozano up top. We talked about Rigoberto Rivas and getting him involved, but Edwin Rodriguez has been good. The boys in the middle have held good structure defensively. And of course, Elise, always the spirited player up top. They've got to feel good about their chances in the second half. Just need a few more opportunities.
Off to the dressing room in this third place game of the Concacaf Nations League Finals between Costa Rica and Honduras. Here's a look at the halftime statistics, Devin. Costa Rica more of the possession. Ultimately, neither side turned it into much, other than to say Costa Rica does hold the lead.
Well, the biggest difference here for me is the shots on target. And everybody's going to say, oh, of course, you have to hit the target. But it's more so in the sense that it's coming from, because either the corner, set piece opportunity, movement coming forward, everything has come from distance, nothing in close range.
Costa Rica 1, Honduras 0 at halftime. Concacaf Nations League Finals third place game. Costa Rica taking on Honduras. Halftime 1-0 in favor of Costa Rica. Let's take a look at the highlights. And Brian Oviedo was very busy over here and oftentimes quite successful making things happen, Dev.
The key component coming in was to whether or not they were going to move Campbell into the true 9 spot. Martinez got the nod against Mexico, but about 30 minutes into that match, they switched the two. Campbell came in, provided a different option moving forward. It finally paid its dividend here as you hit the 8th minute. Great ball on the outside that's get whipped back across. Doesn't get it on the first touch, but he'll take the deflection any way he can get it. Lopez sees it as well, had it covered, but off the deflection, down into the bottom corner, 1-0 Costa Rica.
And a nice salute from Campbell as well. Leal moments later getting in behind, getting by Duarte.
This was, for Elise, where he was at his best against the United States, and it's where he's been at his best in the first half here. The problem is these opportunities have started to slip away because of the respect by Calvo and Duarte on the back line. They've started to drop deeper instead of apply the pressure. You're seeing it here. They're paying respect, stepping off. It's exactly what Edwin Rodriguez saw. He says, no problem, you're gonna give me the space, I'll bring the ball down, step inside, lets it go. Woodwork pushes it aside.
Hits the woodwork about as cleanly as you can, spits out the other direction, avoided Mereda as well. Leal an option here on that longer, more direct play in the final third. Sought out options, ultimately allowed Flores to fire this off the foot of Calvo.
And this was all about Calvo as well because of the fact that he had perfect positioning. If he's seeing the pressure on the backside and he slides over to help out, the window opens up. If he's too near, it's a touch in front or even a clean strike once again. My biggest issue with Costa Rica in these first 2 games has been 2 things. Ruiz and Leal, not getting either one of them on the ball enough and not getting them in combination with their teammates around them. Leal gets an opportunity at the tail end of this. There's the deflection, by the way, once again coming off Alvarez. Referee did not blow it, but that is where this team is successful. Martinez, Campbell, Leal, Ruiz, get all of them running downhill. It will eventually pay off. The problem is they've only got 1 goal out of it, and as you mentioned, not a lot of wins in all those games.
So it is halftime in Denver, Colorado, and this third place game should have a thrilling 45 minutes to come. It is Costa Rica 1, Honduras 0. Nations League concluding here today in Denver, Colorado, the inaugural Nations League in Concacaf. Mike Watts, Devin Kerr, Honduras and Costa Rica meeting in this third place match, and then the United States to take on Mexico in a final that we have not seen all that often of late in CONCACAF. We've got the Conca Clasico of North America and the Clasico Central Americana as well. Devin, as we approach this second half for Costa Rica and Honduras, the Ticos come out of the dressing room with a 1-goal lead, and it's that man, Joel Campbell, who got the goal. That in mind, if you're Honduras, you must feel like you're very much in this game. You eventually began to slow Brian Oviedo as this went along. The midfield from Costa Rica was not nearly as impressive as perhaps anticipated. You have a lot of reasons to feel confident you can get back into this.
The argument to that would be defensively, though they've been able to shut down those attacking areas for Costa Rica, I would argue that the offensive side has actually started to wane the other direction, that the looks, at least for Elise and Lozano up top, specifically Elise, were better in the opening 15 or 20 minutes. The reason for that is because of the transitional movement. So now can you still sit back, withstand that pressure, shut the same players down, and then push the other direction? That's going to be the question here for Honduras coming into the second half. I talked about Rivas and Lozano before going into the dressing room. They need more activity out of them as well, because Edwin Rodriguez has been good on the left. Elise has been good up top, but he's still shifting to that left-hand side. Now you need the balance. Just as we pointed out for Costa Rica, you need the same thing for the Hondurans.
The Hondurans will make a change here at halftime. Rigoberto Rivas comes off, and Alex Lopez will come on. Lopez, the veteran of 35 international caps, started in the semifinal against the United States, plays for Alajuelense in Costa Rica. So there's maybe a little extra in this match going up against several of his current club teammates. Can Costa Rica end this stretch they've been mired in since before the pandemic? 2019, their last victory. They lead at halftime, and Honduras, their bitter Central American rival, seeks a comeback and a stake of third place in Nations League. Underway in Denver. Costa. Manuel Figueroa. Bouncing ball ahead. It's cleared away. For what it's worth, the Costa Rican futsal side just won their third consecutive CONCACAF championship. 3-2 winners in the final against the United States down in Guatemala. 5 games, 28-7 goal difference.
Did you watch any of that?
I did.
Oh boy. Some fun stuff. Other
than scoring a dozen goals against Suriname, the rest of it largely pretty competitive for Costa Rica as well. As Oviedo grasping at his right ankle and gets back to his feet here, moving a bit gingerly as the athletic trainer helped usher him off the field.
A couple of the boys were asking for a change on the sideline. You wonder if that's immediately where they're going.
Surely 2 minutes into this half, not what you're looking for.
Oh, that was Joseph Mora, though, that was up and moving.
Oviedo moving with a little more spice in his legs. Lopez, the lone change for Honduras at halftime. For Costa Rica, they were unchanged at the break, but Joseph Mora, you mentioned a moment ago, is nearing the 4th official. Ball across here, falls inside the area. What a finish! Edwin Rodriguez scores for Honduras. We're on level terms. Rodriguez, a substitute against the United States in the semifinal, a chance to start this 3rd place game. And he has proven his value. 1-1.
We talked about the stock market game. His stock is going sky high. Remember the fact this young man right here was the one who gave them the 1-0 lead in the Olympic qualifier against Mexico prior to them equalizing on the penalty, and these are reasons why. You bring him off the bench, there's energy. He asserts himself to get the shirt in the 11 against Costa Rica, and just watch the skill, because to be able to take this down in traffic, then catch the ball at its apex, moving away from the goalkeeper, is a skill at the highest order that he answers emphatically.
He pulls up the shirt of his country. God always at red underneath. Rodriguez scores in the 48th minute, pulls Honduras level. Ball across Ruiz. I have the feeling, Devin, that this match is going to really pick up steam over these next few minutes. These countries don't appreciate each other on the international stage very much, do they?
No, and there's a time-old tale, Mike, that you get from your managers, whether you've just conceded, you've just scored, you're coming out of the dressing room, the game is starting. It's the next 5 minutes. That's something that starts when you're very young, yet is still being preached to you at the professional level, and that has got to be one of the messages that came out from Fabian Coito right out of the dressing room. Guys, listen, the final third, we started to slip a little bit. Defensively, we got better, but it's time to go out and apply some pressure. Go and make a statement in the next 5 or 10 minutes at the start of the second half and get on top of Costa Rica. They've done that and more.
We saw Mora getting up for Costa Rica, and it appears he has since come into the match. Oviedo was having his foot examined there, although it is being taped up here a bit, and they begin the recovery process. Chance here maybe for another for Honduras. And the crowd groans as Lozano took that the distance and was looking for Elise.
To be fair here, for a player that's trying to find his way into a match, we've given Elise the credit. Of course, Alex Lopez has come on. Edwin Rodriguez gets the goal, but still trying to find Choco Lozano up top. He wants to take it alone. He wants to find a way to do it on his own. I have no problem with that whatsoever, because it just adds insult to injury for this back line of Costa Rica, with more options for the Hondurans moving forward.
Edwin Rodriguez, the goal scorer, starts it upfield. Recovered by Borges. Honduras wins the ball. Rolled wide by Acosta. Elise challenging to the near post for Marrera. Pushes this away. Honduras looks like they've been shot out of a cannon to begin this second half.
Very impressive for sure. And again, it's all about the tacticians moving forward. Transitionally, it's been better, the deflection to the front, but the fact that you now have to handle all of them. So it's the goal, it's the movement just there. They're stretching it in so many different ways defensively, very difficult to keep up.
Corner, Moreta, one-fisted punch, up and away. Waiting and delivering here. Diego Rodriguez fell to Elise. Elise, that is dug out by Yeltsin Tejada. Calvo just maybe doesn't have the right studs today. A couple instances where he has fallen down here.
He's asking. Elise is asking, he said, go check VAR. It's a penalty. He's asking for the handball inside the box.
So Rayon Radix has stopped play for a moment. Chris Penso is the VAR who would initiate such a review. We have not had a review yet in the first two games. It required the referee to look, but VAR is always paying attention.
I don't see anything there that Elise could ask for.
Referee is gesturing for a throw, and that if that was being checked, it has been completed. Devin, if you're Costa Rica, how do you change the momentum right now? It feels like coming out of the locker room, this is a different Honduras.
Yeah, they just need to be on the ball more, and instead of these long balls up over the top that you're seeing, because that's the way the start has been for the opening 10 minutes. They get pinned back, they look for a relief of pressure, and they just send it long. That's not how this team is built. This team is built through their buildups. Rotation through the outside, finding guys like Borges and Tejeda to get these movements going forward. Also interesting to note that with the absence of Oviedo, who was great in the first half, they started to acquire the balance from Fuller, but now they have neither. So you're basically going directly from your center backs to your front line, immediately conceding possession to Honduras. They're basically just playing defense for the opening 9 minutes of the second half.
Figueroa ranges all the way back and has to play this. Honduras came in saying everybody's available, that the only goal of the day was to win. So many teams would enter a match like this with so few competitive matches played in recent years due to the COVID-19 pandemic, seeking to grow and become a better team. And Honduras put all of that to bed instantly after their match against the U.S. And that even if they did lose, the failure is not trying or not having the weapons. They just felt they didn't convert against the United States. A very different issue altogether. One they feel far more confident in the future because of. Rodriguez. Diego Rodriguez. It's just been a little bit iffy from Costa Rica in the back right now. Elise dances, lays this off. This will find Flores. Has to cut this wide as the crowd nearly reached its apex. The service here hits Calvo. Ruiz couldn't corral it. (1-1), Rodriguez in the 48th. The response to Campbell's goal in the 8th minute. Costa Rica's first lead since November of 2019. Ultimately lasts for just under 40 minutes. There are changes coming in this 56th minute of play. Players approaching the fourth official. Attempt to swing that through. Borges gets a touch. And Tejada. Ruiz. There's the stoppage that will allow a trio of Tico substitutes. You see Ari Lassiter, Alan Cruz, who took the final penalty in the shootout against Mexico. Borges will take the captain's armband from Brian Ruiz, who is an absolute legend at 35 years old, but these games have maybe been quite telling.
You have to feel for him. He struggled to really get into it, and then Borges will immediately have to pass the captain's armband off himself as he'll take a seat. Alan Cruz comes on in his stead. And the last change, an interesting one, the fact that Ariel Lassiter, not that he's coming on, that Leal is coming off. The change in the first game against Mexico was Lassiter for Martinez. Instead, they go the other direction on the opposite wing, and Lassiter was quite good, to be fair, in that substitute role in the first game.
Can they change this momentum? Because it has gotten very much out of whack. Honduras, through their pressure, find Edwin Rodriguez. Rodriguez once more. Feet always shuffling to Diego Rodriguez. It's a harsh slide, but a clean one. Martinez. Lopez. Flores got it wide. Alvarez. Rodriguez. Space to navigate. But nobody there.
And defensively, they are tweaking their shape, Costa Rica. And Tico's trying to find a way to really remove any sort of this movement that Honduras has started to really take over the distribution here in the second half. They've dropped Martinez and Lassiter much deeper into the midfield, and the key thing you want to keep an eye on is Joel Campbell as he drops back. Venegas basically serving as a false nine. It's not that that's very different. It's the fact that it's very different look for this team. Basically running 5 flat across the middle with a spearhead in Venegas and then Campbell up top.
Corner, plenty of contact. It's going to get the crowd riled up. Honduras is maintained. And now Martinez racing into the attacking half as Campbell wide. Is that going to be the best kind of look that Costa Rica has the rest of the way this has begun to turn after 15 minutes?
No, right now it's the best look for them for the next 5 or 10 minutes or so because of the defensive shape. What it's doing is it's going to ask other questions of Honduras. This is very much a cause and effect type movement. So what was happening was there were too many lanes open, so it was easy to break the levels for Honduras. They could play out wide, they could play through the middle. As they drop Martinez and Lassiter down into the midfield, you're basically just letting teams go side to side, but you can't come through the middle anymore. Look at all the red jerseys, how they're flat right across. You no longer can play in between those lines. The problem they're going to run into is when they start to counter, there's going to be more space, but not as many opportunities moving forward. So what's going to happen is Honduras will recognize the fact that they're sitting in a deeper block. They will now have to start to play more direct. They'll have to find another way to change that shape. That can come in a couple different areas. And what will end up happening is they change. Costa Rica will notice. They can then start to pivot their movements, and offensively, that'll change them as well.
Have Borges and Ruiz not come off? Can Costa Rica play that way in midfield?
Borges, yes. Ruiz, no. There's too much chasing. And it's more so a load management and the speed that goes on with the amount of shifting that you have to do when you drop into that block. Brian Ruiz, world-renowned player that's just in a different area of his career. And you could see that tonight. As the ball was moving left and right, up and down, he struggled to get in, just like he did against Mexico. I don't care that you want him on the ball moving forward. Defensively, this is the best look for them. Here's another look where they start to drop back. Look at all the red jerseys. So you've got the flat line, drop down in. Even Campbell right now. Notice he's even bringing itself in because he and Venegas are playing off of each other. If Ruiz is in there, it's a different look. That's why Honduras was successful.
Martinez helped to keep possession. And out to Keisher Fuller, whose role has been very different in Costa Rica's semifinal draw and eventual ouster in penalties against Mexico. From the wide area, Costa Rica inches forward. Johan Venegas. That took a deflection and now knocked across with Campbell the target. Skips into the stands. Substitution coming certainly for Honduras. And that's the end for Lozano. Will be replaced in the 63rd minute. And that's Benguche who will come on. And number 12 belongs to Romel Kyoto. He was injured with Montreal in the lead up to Nations League and had to be pulled from the 23-man roster.
Edwin Rodriguez down as well. Just cramping a little bit. Can't blame him for that one. The amount of running that he's put in both on and off the wall. Fantastic shift for that young man so far. Have to imagine, Mike, with his qualifying campaign, getting this team all the way to the final, obviously scoring the goal I mentioned, and then his performance coming off the bench, now in the lineup and the goal. This is a guy, I talked about the pride factor and that Gold Cup's right around the corner, has to have easily worked his way into the starting 11.
Edwin Rodriguez was named to the Olympic qualifying best 11, was in the Champions League best 11 that concluded in the bubble, helping lead Olympia into the semifinal of that competition.
Recognize the front line right now as well with Rodriguez. A little bit doubtful, and we'll see what happens in the next couple seconds here. You bring Benguche on. I was always asking more of Lozano. We were critical of him, and it was a different type look than the other night. Benguche and Elise, they play together now. They're both at Boa Vista. Great relationship to have in terms of the chemistry that's already there. You're not trying to find form. Those guys already play off of each other.
Join the major Portuguese side based in Porto in 2020. Elise. Alvarez. This deflects off of Oscar Duarte. And over the line for a corner.
Easy here. This is all about the little skip up off the pitch. Watch right before it gets to him. Right there. Can't blame Duarte. I've been here. Trust me.
Is that a statement about you or a statement about the position?
We've all been there. Sometimes you just look around and go, did anybody see that? No, I'm not in a massive stadium with everybody watching me on national television and around the world as well. We're just fine. Everybody go about their business. Did end up in the back of the net. That's all that matters.
Edwin Rodriguez has returned to the field. Alvarez had gotten forward and sent that with some venom across the face of goal. It does lead to a Honduran corner. This hops, lifted back across the face. Brought down here, Benguche. Benguche. Not a terrible idea from the player who came up through the quarry in Olympia. Bagged a goal every other game on average. Experience in the Champions League in Concacaf. 25 years old and making just his 5th international appearance with a pair of goals to his name. Cueto first called him up in 2019 for friendlies against Puerto Rico and Chile. Both his goals came against Puerto Rico before Albert Elise came on for him late in that match.
Remember, he was part of that Olympia squad that took down the Seattle Sounders and then moved right on through Montreal Impact. Of course, the eventual champion Tigres would end that historic run for the Olympia squad in the semifinals, dropping them 3-0 en route to their 2-1 victory over LAFC. Good squad, though. And that's still a foul, by the way.
Alan Cruz inclined to agree. Cruz, appearance number 21 for Costa Rica. His 20th is one he'd probably like to forget. 25-year-old player for FC Cincinnati in the United States. Look at the burst from Davy Flores. Flores had a go. Duarte deflects this away and ricochets out over the touchline. Davy Flores with space is a bad, bad man.
Well, he couldn't believe the fact that so much was available to him coming off that little redirect and the ball in the middle. Almost surprised that no one had stepped to him.
Edwin Rodriguez. Kevin Alvarez is out there playing in the Swedish First Division. He tried to scoop that over. Throw Honduras. Elise.
Tackle. It's not easy for Ariel Lassiter to monitor the movements of everything from. So watch this little ball that comes off right here. Almost just surprised because he felt like there was going to be a touch. No touch at all. Ball just rolls to his right-hand side. And your natural tendency trying to strike this ball is whip your hips around, grab as much momentum as possible. It just pulls it too close to his body. And comes off the Costa Rican defender.
Short corner. And Honduras will do it again here. These sides met in 2013 and 2017 World Cup qualifying, also in the Gold Cup each of those years. Somewhat remarkably, hadn't met since 2017. This toward the top of the 6-yard box will carry him out. Martinez helps to lead Costa Rica on the break. There's a tug. That should be a yellow card for Alvarez. It is. That is the first card in this game.
It's been a well-managed match by the refereeing crew, and to be fair on Kevin Alvarez, job well done. This is a professional foul you have to make because of the speed that you're having to deal with Keisha Fuller. If you don't make this foul, not only is he off to the races, he had plenty of troops in support.
This, on the other hand, may be a more strongly worded condemnation. And indeed, Costa stern talking to for whacking Johan Banegas. "20 minutes and stoppage time to go in this third place game. Flighted ball. Escapes. As we inch closer to full time, the only game in Nations League that can go to extra time is the final. Every other match would go to penalties if necessary in the latter stages. Such was the case in the semifinal between Costa Rica and Mexico. Honduras nearly suffered the same fate. instead suffered perhaps an even more difficult exit. Campbell comes off here. He did get a massive goal for Costa Rica in the 8th minute. And Gerson Torres will come on just his 3rd cap.
I made the argument to you, Mike, about Rigoberto Rivas prior to his departure on the sub with Alexander Lopez, that he wouldn't have as many opportunities. Sometimes games go like that, but how could you do once they came your way? Could say that about Joel Campbell, that his overall performance was better in his first match. 100%, that's not even a question against Mexico. The difference is here is as things change, his team has to chase more defensively. The momentum shifts. There's less opportunities coming his way, but he did finish the ones that came to him. The efficiency rate is probably something that's not talked about as much. Needs to be. Everybody knows when a striker has an off night, but when he only gets 1 strike and buries it in the back of the net, there's not a lot of talk about that, is there?
That was the 5th and final change for Costa Rica. There are 3 changes remaining for Honduras. One of the changes they made was at halftime, bringing on Lopez. So they have 2 windows to make 3 changes from here. And without extra time weighing on these managers' minds, Costa Rica deciding to make earlier changes. Honduras still has 17.5 minutes plus stoppage to adjust.
It also gives you an idea of how they feel about this attack going forward, because as good as Oviedo was in the first half, wouldn't make a massive case for any of the front 3 outside of Campbell and Martinez. And I'm talking about Leal, Ruiz, you know, the guys moving in there. This is an attack that is not just 3 men. It's not just 1 striker. It's 4, 5, 6 deep. And they just weren't part of that. So you bring Lassiter on, Venegas. Of course, Gerson Torres just coming in. 3 out of that 4 or 5 man conversation have been replaced.
Venegas, header down and wide. Diving to ground, Duarte, who's slipped on the captain's armband. The absence of Borges and Ruiz.
Well, there was an argument behind the scenes that got himself into trouble here, but does a very good job. Got the extended arm coming over from Benguche.
"16 minutes and stoppage time, no extra time. It would go directly to penalties at this scoreline. For Costa Rica, their form very much in question. A hard-fought game against Mexico. It's been, frankly, an odd situation for them. They've seen about a half dozen of their players, including their celebrated world-renowned goalkeeper, Keylor Navas, unavailable for selection due to illness and due to physical injury. All the while, Ronald Gonzalez saw his computer stolen along with other belongings, which included, he later told the media, his scouting reports from film relating to the potential opposition in Nations League. Creative idea. Martinez throws his foot out, does all he can. He'll get a yellow card.
Well, this is another one as you get marked up in a one-on-one situation, Mike. You get turned like this. Embarrassment is something that comes on first of all, but the second part is what's the next decision? Because of the space that opens up here for Diego Rodriguez. There's an overcommittal by Keisher Fuller, and then he's off to the races. You've got a load of real estate if you let this run continue. So the last-ditch effort has to come in this area. You make this mistake in 2 more steps, it's inside the box, it's a penalty. If you don't get stuck in, you're giving him the opportunity to basically pick and choose where he wants to attack.
Martinez, first 2 caps of his international career in a semifinal and a 3rd-place game in Nations League. Walter Centeno found him in the 2nd division, brought him in through Alajuelense. Born on the island of Chira. And Martinez has been a bit of an epiphany for Costa Rica up front, 22-year-old. Set piece for Honduras here after the Martinez yellow card. That punched away by Morera. Well, you can't blame a guy for feeling confident, as Edwin Rodriguez certainly is. His goal in the 48th minute perhaps giving him the levity with which to try this. There are changes to come here. Alvarado checking in for Honduras. Diego Rodriguez comes off. Alvarado's dealt with so many injuries over the past couple of years. Seemingly impossible to keep him on the field at Olympia. He had a fearlessness to his game. That excites. And Jonathan Rubio has come on as well. And for Rodriguez, that last shot, Devin, proves to be his swan song.
It's a bit interesting of the change for Rodriguez bringing Rubio on. Tilted my head as to maybe the thought of taking Acosta off, to be fair, because you can move Edwin Rodriguez to the interior. Does that for the U23s. Paired next to Davy Flores, gives you the opportunity to pivot them as well, and you can almost play it as a diamond at times if you wanted to, instead of the flat midfield. Obviously sensing that they want the fresh legs on the outside and not necessarily convinced that the job can be done in the final 12 minutes defensively by Rodriguez. Great tackle.
That'll send Jerson Torres flying. This will run all the way through midfield. Lopez leading. Elise drives on Mora. Three white shirts cascading through the penalty area, and Mora able to allow this to carry him over the line.
His ability to change pace and change direction is still, to me, Mike, so impressive. Just watch him, because everything tells you that this scouting report is going to his right foot, but you don't understand how good it is until you get to the ground level and recognize how this big bruising body can still go from 0 to 100.
Corner, Honduras. Elise and Duarte. Can Duarte keep the mark? Lopez. Morera bowled over by Elise. Albert Elise was the Champions League best young player going back to 2016 at Olympia. Turned into an MLS All-Star in Houston, eventually sold to Boa Vista, as you mentioned, in Portugal.
His nickname La Panterita, I'm not necessarily sure the, watch out.
Lopez leading Elise. Elise! Albert Elise gives Honduras the advantage, and the Panthers on the prowl.
Little is the term that's probably going to have to come off of the connotation in his nickname, La Panterita, the Little Panther. And the issue for Costa Rica with the change by Honduras here in the second half has been the pressure and their inability to play out of it. Great job by Davy Flores. This all starts with him stepping up into the middle. Could make an argument, to be fair, that it's a foul on Alan Cruz. Referee lets him play on, and then it's just easy pickings because there's too many options. This is a kidney candy store right here in terms of which direction you want to go. Ends up in front of Elise. Picks the bottom corner. And is that the game winner for Honduras?
Albert Elise, the 11th international goal. Honduras trailed from the 8th minute to the 48th minute. Edwin Rodriguez equalizes. Albert Elise giving Honduras the advantage A series with tremendous history, the 66th all-time meeting. Costa Rica leads by just 2 games. A series that's been dormant for 4 years. Honduras is looking to slice ever closer to their Central American rival in this Clásico. And with it, they could take 3rd place in the inaugural Nations League in Concacaf. Is there more here for Lopez? Elise settles on Mora, got the shot away, and Moneta dives.
A little surprised that this didn't have a deflection. I looked right at you, thought he got a piece of it, and this is the other part of the change. Just getting to, you bring Benguche on. I talked about it, actually comes off the outside of the post. How about this dig? Right there. Little kiss of death for Elise, feeling himself. But with the chemistry that you initially acquire between Elise and Benguche, they've moved Elise out onto this right-hand flank. And you would think with a right footer, okay, that's going to limit his options because he's now going to cut inside on the left foot. If he goes to his right, it's more distributor role. Right, he's now moving away from goal, but that's not the case at all. What he does is he pinches inside and peels back, so he can now cut the angle himself. He still has to wait for runners to come to the inside, so you have to pay the respect if you're on the Costa Rican back line, but still favor the fact that at least in one-on-one situations, the change of pace, his skill, his speed, everything is on full display, and he's using it to the best of his ability.
Minor Figueroa is a man possessed out there right now. The Honduran captain carrying the weight of trying to hold on to a lead now. This will run to the opposite end. Martinez went down just outside the penalty area. Eyes on the old goal puppy, Ari Lassiter. Venegas and Duarte trying to keep Pereira out. Pereira is being told by the referee no further. Duarte may have extended an arm a bit too high for the referee's liking. Is there a response here? Venegas, header is in! Costa Rica's answered, it's Calvo! 85th minute, this Clásico has been everything you'd anticipate. 3rd place is still very much on the line.
This is some kind of ball, Mike, floated to the back post. There's the perfect amount of pace. Loads of opportunity for Calvo to attack this any way that he wants, and it's all about the rotation from all of his players coming forward. You said a little pick. Calvo actually starts, then peels right onto the backside. The argument here is from Figueroa for someone else to step up in. He's got a runner on his right shoulder, but that's got to be the captain leading forward here. Said he wants some help. The second this ball gets played, you know exactly where it's going. You have to attack the space. Instead, Calvo attacks and he equalizes.
For Francisco Calvo, international goal number 7. Calvo and Campbell have scored for Costa Rica. Elise and Edwin Rodriguez for Honduras. And we are now about 5 minutes away from penalties if neither of these teams can break the deadlock. You have to appreciate how Costa Rica responded to going down. Venegas wins the free kick.
What did I always say to you, by the way, when Hondurans soared out of the halftime and I said,
chance here perhaps. Lopez is infuriated.
I said to you coming out, poor play coming out of the back and then little quick restart. It's got to be better. he should be upset. There's no reason whatsoever that Martinez should be able to split the back four and get a wide open strike. But I said to you, the time will tell is the next 5 minutes. Next 5 minutes is what it's always about. What is your response going to be? Are you going to toe the line with some of the best of them? Step up, get yourself back on track. For a Costa Rican squad that had really struggled here in the second half, that dagger by Elise in the 80th minute seemed like this would be done and dusted. But that's not the case whatsoever. And just inside 5 minutes, you get a response from Costa Rica on a set piece opportunity to equalize this match.
It looked like Honduras was in position to hold on to third place. Players being reminded in the lead up to this game on both sides. World Cup qualifying and the Gold Cup are right around the corner. And these performances could play a massive role in what's expected of you moving forward over the next 6 months. This turned over. There's a tug from Calvo. Calvo pulls out in front of Lopez. Play allowed to continue. This taken by Rubio. Rubio trying to get the shot through, and Lassiter comes racing in from behind to send this out. There is a corner.
Tejeda gets involved on this tackle as well, but the question is for Keisha Fuller, what's going to happen here? Great job on the pressure. Guess who? Davy Flores once again. Remember, he's the one who applied the pressure on the tackle that led to the goal by Elise in the 80th minute. Similar buildup just in another area of the field.
Corner is steered away. It was kept in by Honduras, only for a moment. Figueroa being pulled off by Benegas, and those two begin to boil over. Elise, the equalizer from Rodriguez. 2 goals for Honduras. Costa Rica got the opener and the most recent. Campbell in the 8th, Calvo in the 85th. The USA and Mexico will play for the championship in this Nations League finals. But third place has become contentious, and it will go into the 90th minute or later. Never Alvarado gesturing back to the official. Ball put in play for Honduras. Header down, plenty of contact. Ripped out by Fuller.
Paredes asking for a shove on the backside, right? You could see the pressure from here for sure, whether or not it constitute a point to the penalty mark.
Corner, Honduras. Over Elise. Did that get up and catch the hand? It appeared it did of Lassiter, and he'll simply play this into the Honduran half and be happy to get away with it. Injured player down for Costa Rica, and Honduras will play through into stoppage time. 3 additional minutes, and Martinez is down. Costa Rica does not have any substitutes remaining. Should we complete the 3 minutes without a goal, it would be direct to penalties, no extra time. So often you see a player whack away at someone who's trying to lift them up in the 90th minute when you're maybe just trying to get this over the finish line, and Martinez's credit hops up with Paredes' help. A 30-second sigh of relief for Costa Rica, and Honduras builds again. 2 goals in these last 10 minutes have changed the result. Alvarado working through Lopez. Fires toward the penalty spot. Kept alive here. Settled for the shot, high and wide. And a crunching effort by Alan Cruz catching Flores. And that may have been a regrettable error by Costa Rica, ceding possession back so easily.
How beautiful would have been if maybe Flores, the key factor in that goal by, at least in the 80th minute, was the one to get his own.
Dancing the shot away, and Marrera turns away Rubio. Are either of these teams thinking penalties at this point?
Costa Rica is. Honduras is definitely not. They're still going after this thing. Right now, Costa Rica just absorbing wave after wave of pressure, and to be fair, Mike, ever since their goal have really sat back. They're just content with trying to push this into spot kicks and see what they can do.
Throw, Honduras. An attack that's had plenty of bite in this second half. They have one more in them to avoid the roulette of penalties. Will this be Costa Rica's fate? A second match in a row. It appears so. Third place in Concacaf Nations League will be decided from the penalty spot. A wild second half. An equalizer and a go-ahead goal for Honduras. Alberto Lis seemingly putting Honduras in the catbird seat, but Francisco Calvo's equalizer in the 85th minute means Denver will see more penalties before this final begins. Devin, you said it shortly out of halftime. To be told this is a third place game or a consolation game would not make sense based on what we saw in the first 50 minutes and certainly not the last 40.
And credit to the players as well, because in the second half, shot out of a cannon, both squads. You know, Honduras, much like we saw in the matchup on Thursday evening against the United States men's national team, built themselves throughout this competition, throughout this match. They became the aggressor. They dictated the tempo. It was different for Costa Rica, who, and you thought, okay, maybe this is going to be a different night for them. 8 minutes in, you find Joel Campbell, great ball by Oviedo. Of course, that combination would change with the addition of Joseph Mora. Oviedo goes off with an injury to his ankle, immediately worked upon, and you have to hold your head up high if you're a Tico, because of the fact that this wasn't the team that you thought it was going to be. And I say that because 9 games running, Mike, they were unable to come out on the winning side of things. You drop down 2-1, 10 minutes to go in a match. As a player, you think, here we go again. What do we have to do to just get our time, to get our opportunity? And yet 5 minutes outside of the go-ahead goal, you get a response from your center back, no less, and Francisco Calvo. Forget the defensive marking by Honduras, or lack thereof. And the way that this game closed out, I mean, non-stop in the final 8 minutes, if you consider the added extra time. For Honduras, it's been quite some time since they lost on penalties. You have to go back to the prior decade. Costa Rica, a little bit different. They've experienced this before, haven't they?
About 4 days ago. And for Costa Rica, an odd penalty shootout in that both Costa Rica and Mexico missed the target entirely within the first 2 rounds. Alan Cruz saw his penalty in the 6th round, a save by Memo Ochoa. That ended Costa Rica's hopes of advancing to the championship. And Compared to the beginning of this match, there are thousands and thousands of more fans in this venue. Devin, what's always intriguing when you have a twin bill is who begins to draw favor of the neutrals. Time will tell here. Figueroa and Duarte meeting with the referee to decide who will go first here. Devin, try to describe the feeling going on right now. You're playing for third place. No, there's not a trophy at the end, but you know everyone in your home country is watching these penalties on bated breath.
It's a very difficult one, and the fact that you have to stay focused, more importantly in the sense that not often, Mike, do you get the opportunity as a player where you go straight to penalties. Usually this is just a level of exhaustion where the mental side of things really has to control itself a lot more. And I'm not saying that that's not the case right now, but for someone like Venegas, who comes on as a substitute in the second half, his mind's a bit more clear. Those tired legs, not going to be as prevalent. Different situation, but mentally, still one of the toughest tests in all of sports.
The last time Honduras went to penalties was against Costa Rica in the 2011 Concacaf Gold Cup. First penalty belongs to Costa Rica. Can they get off to a good start here? Luis Lopez is ready for Honduras in goal. And after a lengthy standoff, Venegas delivers. Costa Rica the advantage.
This is the mental side I'm talking about. He stares this thing down all the way till the last minute. Watch his eyes. Closes. Sees the goalkeeper shuffling just a tiny bit to his right. Picks that bottom corner. Perfectly placed by Johan Venegas.
Honduras looks to respond. Alexander Lopez. Morera read the rules here. Is this ball just off the spot? Alexander Lopez may need to reset. Lopez, champion in CONCACAF League in penalties in 2017. Plays for Alajuelense in Costa Rica. And Lopez for Honduras makes it 1-1.
Should put the highlight reel on repeat. Same exact penalty, same exact spot. Good placement. A little bit different in execution. Lopez already had his mind made up as to where he wanted to go. Got his head down the entire way.
Calvo, an unlikely hero perhaps. The headed goal in the 85th minute that saw Costa Rica back to level terms 5 minutes after Alberth Elise put them behind. Calvo high and into the net on the left-hand side. Sent Lopez the wrong way. 2-1 Costa Rica.
It's very difficult as a left footer to get this amount of power, number one, Mike, but with the way that he hits this, placing open foot instead of the laces, you put it on your instep. Natural tendencies come back across the body, use your momentum to your benefit, bring it to the bottom corner. Goalkeeper saw that as well. Calvo goes the other direction.
So far, so good. 3 penalties, all converted. Alberth Elise for Honduras. A shooting star of a career through Monterrey into Houston and on to Portugal. He's scored in this game, and now he scores in the shootout. Right down the middle, 2-2.
Some kind of confidence by the striker. And he peels this back just at the end. The right foot keeps the hips open, which makes it that much more difficult for the goalkeeper.
Ari Lassiter, reportedly nearly a $500,000 transfer fee into the Houston Dynamo from Alajuelense. Spent time with the Galaxy as well in Major League Soccer. The son of a legend, Roy Lassiter, to give Costa Rica the advantage in the third round. And Lopez made the stop, and the ball comes to a rest. Honduras the advantage now.
Now watch this one as well. This is what I talk about as a left footer. Natural tendency with this sort of stutter. You want to bring it back across your body. Doesn't catch it clean, Mike, to be fair. It starts to come up, which is great. Very difficult for Lopez to get his hand on it, but he doesn't bring it all the way back across his body. Able to reach out and knock it down.
Lopez has done his job. Now Honduras simply needs to see it out. Moreta's got other ideas. Jorge Benguche, a late addition into the roster to begin with due to Romel Kyoto's injury. Benguche stopped, but over the line and in. Moreta watches that spin over the line, and if that isn't a statement about Costa Rica's form and ill-fated luck, I don't know what is.
I said earlier, what do you have to do for it to be your time if you're Costa Rica? They get out in front 8 minutes in, and you got to feel for him. Does everything to get back across this. Cheeky little penalty by Benguche, who recognizes the goalkeeper leaving early. Lady Luck shines bright.
A penny for his thoughts. And meanwhile, Jerson Torres, second half substitute. Third cap for Costa Rica. He scores. A fantastic penalty. Puts it at 3-3 in the shootout. Closing in on the point of no return now. Jonathan Rubio. A goal here would put Honduras on the brink. Moreta got a piece of the last, but watched it squirt over the line. Rubio, there's the save. Moreta this time as confident and as cool as you like. 4 rounds complete. It is 3-3.
Same way this time around, except notice the ball heading for the bottom corner. Moreta gets a jump on it. He leaves a bit early, gets away with one here from the referees. They don't see him come off the line. Perfect amount of extension by the goalkeeper.
Joseph Mora debuted in 2018 for Costa Rica, playing with DC United now. Picked up an injury 3 weeks ago, but still able to come in for this Nations League semifinal and third place game. To give Costa Rica an advantage in the 5th round of penalties. Mora, fantastic. Honduras must convert. For Costa Rica, their 10th game since their most recent victory. Losing in penalties to Mexico in the semifinal. A chance to grab third place from the grasp of maybe their biggest rival. Can Honduras keep this alive? Moreta's ready. There's the conversion necessary for Honduras. Acosta into a 6th round.
Some kind of confidence here from Acosta. It's one of the better penalties we've seen all day. Perfectly taken. Tremendous amount of power. Closes himself off just at the tail end of it. Kept it open. That's the goalkeeper going the other direction.
Yeltsin Tejada never scored in the run of play for the national team. The 29-year-old, multiple World Cups, been to the Gold Cup. Takes the pressure of the moment to keep Costa Rica in the advantage. There's the save by Lopez. And Honduras is back on the cusp of third place.
With the short run up here, Mike, and the way that he's got his head down, sometimes as a player you can telegraph your moments of exactly what direction you're going. It's easy for the goalkeeper, to be honest. It's a well-taken penalty. The problem is you've given an idea of exactly which direction you're leaning.
2 of the last 4 penalties have been saved. This is Ever Alvarado, a torn ACL in February of 2020. Little did he or anybody know what would be coming 3 weeks later. The star at Olympia, defined by his fearlessness, places the ball at the spot with a chance to give Honduras a third-place finish in the inaugural Nations League in Concacaf. Does Merera have one more stop in him? Alvarado scores, and Honduras will take third in the inaugural Concacaf Nations League in penalties.
This should be of no surprise to anyone, though, Mike, because this is all about placement number 1. Goalkeeper almost gets there. But this Honduran squad, we talked about it during the match, at every level, youth, domestic, international, you name it, is finding success all over this globe. Gone are the days where you match up against this type of squad and it's an easy victory. They showed us at the Olympic qualifiers. They've showed us in the lead up to this tournament, and now on the global stage, they've given you exactly what they wanted to. Perfect implementation of their system. The world's on notice. Honduras is here to stay.
You saw Lopez and Merera sharing a moment, both starring for Alajuelense in Costa Rica for the Ticos. It's now 10 games without a victory. And so brutally painful, these two. A chance to unseat Mexico in a major international tournament, and a chance to pull one over on your Central American rival, and both ill-fated in penalties. 2 tremendous performances by Costa Rica. For Honduras, they concede late, allow Costa Rica a seat at the table in penalties, down to the field.
¿Qué se llevan de la participación de hoy?
Bueno, sí, a ver, luchamos hasta el final. No era nuestro objetivo, evidentemente, queríamos más en esta copa. No fue así y nos quedaremos con el crecimiento y las cosas por mejorar.